Paul, you want to turn your microphone on? Oh, I don't have my gavel. Right? Oh, here's John. All right, it is 6 o'clock. We will get started. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. We are going to try to get through our agenda as quickly as possible tonight because we do have a, can we have quiet in the audience, please? Thank you. We are going to have a non-public conference with council at 6:45. And so we are going to try to get through our entire agenda in 45 minutes. And so we will start as usual by reviewing and signing payroll and accounts payable. After that, I'll take a motion to have John participate remotely. We will start with accounts payable for the period ending 10/5/24. We had payroll in the amount of $34,715.43. We had accounts payable in the amount of $187,895. That's a little bit bigger than normal. I suspect there was a big ticket item in there.
There's health insurance, there's a cruiser, half of the fence, half of the pickleball court.
There you go. Okay. And I will pass this around for signatures.
The board could just check to make sure I've left the office before they set the alarm. Last week I came out of my office and all the alarms.
We did not know you were here. Deep apologies.
We're so used to cutting out so late.
Yeah, usually that's dead here when we leave.
I'm usually here till this time of year, 8-ish.
Okay, thank you for that reminder. We'll yell down the hallway for you before we lock up. Sorry about that. Hopefully some friendly Brentwood police officers came and checked you out. Wonderful. Thank you.
After I got the crap scared out of me by the submarine alarm in the basement.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Our bad. Thank you. Next, I'll take a motion to have John participate remotely.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so John can participate remotely. Just to remind everyone that when we have a remote member, we do need to do all votes by roll call. We will now move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions about this week's agenda? In this week's consent agenda, we have public minutes from 10/1, non-public minutes from 10/1, which are sealed, the rec manifest, the treasurer's report, and building permits. We have a motion and a second on the table. We'll take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Abstain.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that passes. We will now move on to public comment. We'll open public comment at 6:03. And as always, anyone is welcome to speak on a topic of their choosing. Just please come to the table and make sure your microphone is on so we can hear and record you. Anyone interested in public comment?
Madam Chair, just
Yes.
a quick aside. Are you guys aware that that the camera isn't?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to see
Okay.
us? Would you like to see us?
No,
We can
I
turn
don't
it back
care.
on.
No, as long I just didn't know if there was if it.
We had just
impacted
turned it off because we were looking at ourselves on a large screen.
Oh yeah.
Now we're
And
looking
I'm
at you
myself
on a large screen.
and-
All right. Anyone comment? I'm seeing none. So we will close public comment at 6:04. Thank you for helping us keep on track. We will now move on to discussion action items. And the first thing we have on deck tonight is Wayne Robinson, road agent, to discuss sale of town property. Come on down.
I wanted to find out if you guys want to sell that 2007 Chevy 3500 truck that I used to drive. We got down back of the shed. It's pretty well rusted up. It still runs. And the other one was the 2001 International 4900, that green truck, dump truck that we had down there. I have a buyer, Scott Bartholomew. I called him up, actually, way back when he worked on it, he said he would like to buy that truck. And the International there. And anyways, the other day, I called him up and see if he was still interested in the truck. It's been quite a while. And he said, yeah. He said, I'll come down and look at it. So he came down and looked at it, and he looked at the truck. The truck has a big problem with the computer in the motor on the 2001. It will run, and then when it decides it don't want to run, it will stop. And that's the problem that we had with it. And I mean, now it's been sitting out back there, and it's starting to rust up pretty good.
When's the last time we used that 2001
Oh,
truck?
that's been like 2 years now, 3 years.
I thought so, a couple of years.
Yep. But anyways, he came down, he looked at him, he saw the Chevy truck. He said, you want to sell that? And we said, yeah, if you want to buy it, we'll sell it. And but he wants this truck just to run around his farm. And we have a sander that goes on this truck. He wanted to know if we would sell the sander with it. And I said, well, I'll have to go in and find out how much. I asked him how much he wanted to offer to buy all three of them and the sander. And he told me that he'd give us $10,000 for all three of them, the whole thing. Bring his record down and tow them all out. So.
In the past.
Just on the books here, in 2015, just so you know, I took this truck up to International when we were going to buy a new truck and try to trade it, and they only allowed me $10,000 back in 2015 with that truck, with the plows.
Okay. Karen, in the past, when we've sold town vehicles, I believe there's a process that we go through.
We have posted them on Craigslist in the past, but Wayne had wanted to see if the board would entertain these offers before we posted them publicly.
Okay.
Because Scott's done a lot of work for the town.
Okay. Do you have any problems with that process if the board did decide to do that rather than open it up to the public?
No, you can waive the process if that's what you choose.
Okay. Board questions or comments for Wayne?
Is the sander not being used?
What's
Is
that?
the sander not being
No,
used?
the sander was, it came with that, it's hydraulic, and we don't have another truck down there that's hydraulic to put the sander on anyway. We sold the other truck with the sander there, the dump truck that we had.
Any other questions or comments for Wayne? Anyone interested in accepting Wayne's proposition or opening it up to the public for bids?
It seems reasonable for some pretty old equipment, so.
Yeah, you got a lot of work to do on both of those.
Sounds like it, yeah.
I mean, so that was, his first offer was 10,000?
10,000.
Okay.
Yeah, he came down the other day, and that's what he gave me. He said, I'll take them if they want to sell them for 10,000. So we thought that was a good deal. All of us guys down there thought that would be a pretty good deal.
This would be your preference, Wayne, to sell it to this
Yeah, I
individual?
think it's a good deal.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to get any more than that. I mean, he's going to have to tow it out anyways, because
Sure.
that truck won't run right now. We've tried everything to get it started.
Gotcha. John or Andy, any comments?
We've historically done sealed bids, but Wayne's done such a good job of making the truck sound so beautiful that I doubt we'd get much more than 10 grand for a sealed bid.
Yeah, I think so.
I hear you on that.
Used car salesman, he's not.
True. All right, anyone interested in making a motion?
I'll move to accept the offer.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the $10,000 offer for the 2007 Chevy, the 2001 International truck with the sander. And we will take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul? Letty?
Aye.
And I'm in favor as well, so we will move forward with that sale, and please thank him
Okay.
for taking that
cool.
equipment.
Thank you.
Wayne, any update before you leave on the gravel?
Oh, you mean on the rocks?
Yeah.
I've called John Bell. I asked John Bell if he could do it. and haul them and put them out. And he hasn't got back to me yet, but it sounded like he will do it. He's gotta do our shoulders on the road and,
At what cost?
yeah, I haven't got the cost yet. I'm still
You'll
waiting.
bring that back to us.
He is gonna give me the cost, cause he has the cost of the rocks, cause we did, PBD drive with him. So he'll get back to me. I called him last week.
Maybe you can follow up.
But I'll follow up.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Wayne.
Yep.
All right, next we have our first set of budgets to review. We have emergency management, legal, executive office, and assessing. And Karen has given the board a preview that all of these budgets are level funded. Not to steal your thunder.
Do you want me to go over them one by one, or do you have questions?
I think we have them in front of us, that they are all level funded. Do any board members have any
Of course I do.
questions, concerns,
Of course
or
I have
comments?
questions.
Well, go right ahead.
So the emergency management budget is level funded, but what much underspent this year? Is there a reason to continue funding it at the level it's funded at?
Because you never know when an emergency is going to happen. And the last time the board attempted to cut the budget, we had an earthquake. Like literally that same evening, while we were sitting at the table. And he came back in to say, "I told you so."
Literally in that moment. Okay. Okay, fair.
And then I believe, Letty, that 8,500
Yeah, the Seabrook,
is gonna get moved to a revolving account.
correct.
So that budget will be,
What do you mean it's gonna get moved to a revolving account?
That's the revolving.
for
capital
Seabrook
reserve.
Station,
So why do we have it in this budget?
because it has to go in before it gets moved. The
It's
revolving
already
account
in.
just took effect.
Isn't it already in?
No, we will receive it as revenue to fill this line. So this won't be taxpayer raised
It's in and out.
money, but we have to document that it comes in before we can move it out to.
Karen,
reserve
next
fund.
year, would it go directly into the revolving fund?
You can, but then how do you want to handle expenditures? Because right now the fund has only a couple of $1,000s in it from this year. So this was to be able to track the expenditures
Right.
in the operating budget.
Maybe we could just put $1 if it's only to keep track of it.
Well, it's just 8,500. It's not the whole budget.
I understand.
Because that directly comes in as revenue from Seabrook, right?
Yes.
So I think Letty's question is if it comes in as revenue, why do we have it listed here in
Because
our
it didn't
budget?
exist last year.
Last year.
Wait, last year or 2 years ago?
The fund was just established at 2024's town meeting.
Yeah, like 6 months ago.
The fund was established, and when we established it, we specifically said that this money would come in as revenue and go in here?
The
Or,
money that is coming in as revenue will go into that revolving fund, yes.
okay, then I would like to make that line be $1, so if you still want to track what the expenses are, that's fine, but I don't see any reason to ask for money in the budget that we know we're not gonna use.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused as well in terms of like, do we need that 8,500 there as a placeholder? Because that's tax revenue we know we don't have to raise, right?
I think you'd be fine to just remove it if that's what you want to do. So it'd be 6376 is the bottom line.
60, 70. Is there any downside to removing that line from your perspective?
I mean, I think the only risk is that there's not $8,500 in the revolving fund from '24. So depending on
What's in there now? Nothing?
I think there was 2 quarterly payments that we had received
But-
after.
oh, 'cause we
town
don't
But
get
we
it as a
also,
lump sum.
we can also, we're not tied to this specific line. If there's an emergency,
Sure, of course, yeah. So I think what I hear you saying is after we receive the next couple of checks from Seabrook, that fund will have more money in it, but right now it doesn't. So is what you are saying that having this in here would allow us the ability to raise it by tax funds if we had an emergency?
If you had an
I'm
emergency, I
trying to
mean,
understand.
yeah.
Okay. But to Letty's point, we often have like some other little emergency cushions in the budget.
I mean, it's been that same amount. It's been level funded for the last, this is the 5th year.
Yeah, because that's the amount that we get from Seabrook.
I know, but we haven't used any.
So the wording of the warrant article requires that the money received for Seabrook Station be deposited into the revolving fund.
Directly.
To see if the town will vote to establish an emergency management equipment revolving fund
Yep.
pursuant to 3195 for the purpose of maintaining and operating equipment for the Emergency Operations Center. All revenues received for said purpose from New Hampshire Department of Safety in connection with the Seabrook Station REP plan will be deposited into the fund, and the money in the fund shall be allowed to be accumulate from year to year and shall not be considered part of the town's general fund balance. Town treasurer shall have custody of all monies of the fund and shall pay out the same upon order of the governing body. And no further approval is required by the legislative body to expend.
Okay, so it sounds like we don't need it in the budget if it's going to go directly into that fund.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So you said that was 6376? You just take that out?
Yes.
Anytime we can take something out of the budget.
I know it's a small amount, but I feel like more places we can find.
No,
small
I mean,
amounts, the
it's
better.
record
Yeah.
keeping.
It's not small. It's a good catch.
Well, and if you do it 10 times, then.
Right.
Is that a 6 or a 5? Is it 6375?
6376.
You have to
Oh, because we're going to leave it as $1.
leave $1 so
Gotcha.
that if.
Yep.
Because that way, if the
That's what
fund
I
is
was thinking.
depleted and we still need to expend money, we
Yep.
can track it.
Gotcha. Okay, so would you like to make a motion for that 6376?
I would like to make a motion for 6376 for emergency management.
Is there a second?
Yes.
So we have a motion and a second for 6376. We'll take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll approve emergency management for 6376. Other questions or issues?
Karen, do we know what our backup is gonna be for Exeter Hospital for drug and alcohol testing?
I was just thinking that.
And what it's gonna cost us?
The cost will be comparable. There is a company out of Hampton that does drug testing. And then I have a call to Portsmouth Occupational Health, which works with Portsmouth Regional Hospital to do the pre-employment and the workers' compensation physicals.
And does all of that fall under this annual medical exams line and the pre-employment physical line?
Yes.
Oh, and then there's a drug alcohol testing line, so there's 3 different lines we're
Yep.
talking about here. Okay, so level funding those should be adequate.
It should be. I've gotten a copy of all of the profiles and protocols from Center for Occupational Health, so I'm just working with getting all of that information to Portsmouth Regional
Okay.
now.
Any questions about the executive office budget of level funded at $25,005? Seeing no major questions, anyone interested in making a motion?
Moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will pass Occ Health at $25,005. Next is financial tax and assessing. That's also level funded at $47,901. Questions or concerns about this budget?
Hold on. I'm guessing that utility thing comes in later in the year, and that's why it's still.
Actually, I think that was in this week's payables.
I'd move the assessing budget at $47,901.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will pass financial tax and assessing level funded at $47,901. The last one is legal. That is also level funded at $37,127.
We don't have anything looming in the future. Nobody's mad at us.
We had increased this a couple of years ago because we
okay.
had some active litigation. Some of those have now closed, but we do still have some active litigation going on.
Okay.
So I think it was either last year or the year before we bumped it to have a little bit more of a cushion.
Okay.
Any other questions
Mm.
or feedback on this legal budget?
I move the 37,127.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will approve legal at 37,127. Great. All right. We have about 20 minutes to do our regular business and committee updates before we have to meet with council. So we will start, as usual, with Karen. What do you have for us?
I have 4 appointment slips for inspectors of election to expire August 1, 2026 for Mary Jo Mole, Priscilla Stevens, Cynthia Polaro, and Erin Staffier.
And these are all put forward by Daphne.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or concerns about these 4 inspector of elections? Questions or concerns? No? If not, I'll take a motion to approve these 4.
Moved.
Second.
I almost had a tie. We will take a vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll sign these. And I'm assuming Daphne will get these folks sworn in before the next election, or sometimes I think she does it the morning of.
The town's MS1.
Ooh.
Good catch.
Do we need to sign this, vote to
need to
approve
sign it, yes.
this? Yes, gotcha. Do we have in front of us how our valuation has changed from last year? I don't know if you have that number. I'm just kind of curious, because it has been going up with all the new building that we've
Yeah.
had in town.
Has, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay. I think this looks, so what's the end number we usually report to the town? The net without utilities?
You can give this number 757 with utilities.
Okay,
I think last year was 739, if I remember correctly.
740, almost 43.
so it's up about $14 million in total valuation from last year. Okay. Do you have any concerns or issues with this document?
No.
I will take a motion for all of us to sign Brentwood's 2024 MS1.
Moved.
Second.
And we'll take a vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we each have a place to sign here. Just on the front, Karen?
Yes. I have the Fidium contract to do fiber at the town office. The only thing that they were willing to negotiate really is that if there's litigation, that they change the state to the state of New Hampshire.
I think we had to do that with our website
Yeah.
company too. And are you satisfied with the results of this contract negotiation?
I mean, it is what it is. They won't remove any of the limitations of warranties. They won't remove any of the, there was a clause in here to, like the indemnification clause, they won't remove any of those.
Is our
So
insurance
those are
for
what
council?
Primex
Okay.
would recommend being removed. You can see, these are the recommendations. And then this is what they were actually willing to do, the red line version. All they were willing to do was change the state.
Is our Primex okay with the current state of the contract?
I mean,
doesn't
those
meet
are their
what they would
recommendations to have
advise.
those changed. And then that's up to the board's purview, whether or not you're comfortable with those. Right, I mean, it's,
I assume there are other towns who also have Primex in New Hampshire that are in a similar situation, right?
Could be, I mean, if they're deciding to go with video.
I mean, we need better internet pretty bad.
So if you, it's mostly just on this one page that there were some changes that were recommended that they did not agree to. What's your personal feeling about this?
I don't think that they're willing to move. But it's up to the board whether you want me to take it to town council or not.
Do we know if those same stipulations are in the Comcast contract?
That I don't know off the top of my head. Comcast was, they were a little bit more negotiable in some of their terms. Because Comcast contract was more terms of use. It wasn't,
So as I'm understanding this, all the boxed items are ones that
Primax
had
suggested
suggested,
changed.
but the only one that they're willing to revise is the venue.
Is the location, yep.
I know you can't see the paper, John, but do you have any overall thoughts about this?
I mean, we've been talking about getting better internet for quite a while, so I don't know. I guess I would be curious about the question that Andy asked. If the same stipulations are in the current contract with Comcast. But then again, I just to be clear, I did not thoroughly review what the Primex solutions were or what the sticking points are. If it's just internet,
I think it's just some
I'm not super
boilerplate
concerned.
language that they have in there that they didn't want to remove.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I can't tell you that I'm overwhelmingly concerned about a contract with the ISP.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's some legal jargon in terms of, I guess they're unwilling to waive their right, or there had been a suggestion that we delete that we waive our right to a jury trial. They're unwilling to do that, as I'm understanding it.
Jury trial for what? I mean, when would we ever?
For
In what
For some
foreseeable
dispute that we
scenario?
have between them, right?
I mean, this is probably the same contract that they send to literally everybody.
Oh, yeah,
no
it's
matter
just
how
their
big or small
boilerplate.
they are.
Yeah, their standard contract.
I mean, they have a limitation on what our remedies would be. They've want indemnification against us. I mean, you know, some of these things are pretty remote in terms of the likelihood of happening, but it's making the contract more favorable to them. I guess it depends on how badly we want the contract.
Sure.
So
Is there terms on the contract, Karen? Or can we cancel at any time?
I mean, this will stay in place as long as you have service, and then you have, what, 30 days to?
Yeah,
and
it
then
says
after you,
30 days.
So even if there's an issue, we have an out, so.
and once the contract is no longer, you have up to 3 years to file litigation if that's what you choose to do.
about what?
If you wanted to file a claim, you'd have up to 3 years after.
After termination. Yeah, it says here 30 days in writing for termination.
I could see if we were like an internet sales company where if our ISP was not performing to standards, we would have cause against the company because we can't sell our product, but
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ask Block 5? Did they, or did this come from them?
I worked with Block 5 to get the contract. They put me in contact with their person, with their
So they think this
contact
is not a
person.
bad idea.
Right.
Sounds like the board in general, the vibe I'm getting is no one is overly concerned that this would be a deal-breaking result. If that's the case, is anybody interested in making a motion?
I'll make the motion.
second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. And does it look like, just so I have to sign this?
Yes.
right. That's your other copy. All right, what else do you have for us?
Set for public session.
Ooh. All right, we will move on to Andy.
Did we want to do this?
Oh, yeah, Brent, should we do the newsletter? We can do that under your section. So at last week's meeting, there was a request for payment for the newsletter. And if I'm understanding correctly, it was for the July, August, September, and October edition, with the October edition just having recently come out. There was a board request to just check with all town departments to make sure that the relationship with the newsletter had been going well and following the guidelines that had been signed by the newsletter back in May as their policies. And we did hear back from the rec department that they had had some issues with their content being cut over the months. And so Karen, if you can just tell us kind of what feedback you got from rec about this.
The only feedback I got from Andy was that on your, each of the printouts for each month, he highlighted the content that was submitted that was not ultimately printed.
Okay. Do you know if he didn't get a chance to look at October as it had just come out? Because I don't see that in here.
I don't think that they had a chance to look at that.
Okay. So we have in front of us, and I did double check, and actually for the summer, the June edition, the whole section about the 4th of July parade was actually removed, and there was a separate visual about the parade. So actually it's almost the whole page was removed for June and just done differently. And like I said, I didn't see October comparisons. For September, it was, I think the announcement about the cricket and the photo that was not published. Did you have a chance to follow up with staff at the rec who submitted this, if there was back and forth communication with the newsletter about the adjustments that were being made?
Andy said there wasn't any back and forth when I had sent out the email asking if all content was submitted. Then he had Jason go back and pull the issues and compare them to what was submitted.
Okay. So as far as the rec has stated, there was no back and forth on this, or emails or phone calls?
It doesn't sound that way.
Okay. All right. Board thoughts on this, and then is the board interested in having Mr. Hajar come up to comment on this?
Just for what, sorry, Lydia, I didn't mean
No,
to cut
go,
you off. I
go.
think we have a little bit of a delay. I just wanted to reiterate that I did also have a conversation with Andy that confirms exactly what Karen said. So that is all.
Okay. All right, Letty, what were you gonna say?
I guess I'd be curious to see if there's a response from.
Okay. Yep. Jim, would you like to come up to the table? Or to this one's fine, yeah? Just turn on the microphone so we can hear you. So you've heard the explanation of what was presented to us. Do you have feedback for us on how this was handled or how this content was removed from the newsletter?
Sure. I mean, honestly, we're just trying to put out a newsletter that supports the entire community. There's a lot of different organizations in town. There are, right? And with Andy, going back over a year ago, I did meet with him to say, look, it seems like every month you're sending me the entire full page. You put out your own newsletter or your own monthly single sheet page. There are times when, like in the graduate issue, where we run tight of space, or in another one where we were doing almost a 3/4 page ad for the library, plus we had, if we run on limitations, I would ask Andy, would you mind making it a little more succinct? And like things like if you're having a registration for a fall event, like for a sport, don't run it in April, May, June, July. Like maybe just do it the month before, especially if we're tight on space. So we did talk about this, and I just asked him, would you mind making it a little more succinct? Maybe it got better, maybe it didn't. Honestly, I've never heard a complaint from Andy since I've been editor, ever, about something being. So what we do is we try, and if you look, like I went through every single one of them. I mean, I will say there was one mistake that we had. There was the picture of the cricket team that didn't get printed, and we just ran out of space. And we probably should have put it in the next issue, and that was our mistake. But everything else that was highlighted in yellow, I mean, I don't know if you want me to, I'll go through every single one of them.
No, that's not necessary.
Like you said, there was a like the Medicare session. We made the flyer working with Andy and the presenter. She liked this thing. Like Robin did this, not me. I don't know how to do this stuff. It's Robin. So all I can say is that the things, like every single one of the things I went through where it said like, oh, that part was highlighted yellow, right? That was missing. Well, yeah, like the field hockey. Well, but it was run in September. The soccer, we did it in the fall. We did it in September. The fall run, we did a full detail in September. The National Night Out, we did. Robin made that flyer. The National Night Out flyer, she made that for Andy. Like it was just a paragraph. You know
Was
what I mean?
that discussed with the rec? Those like major
Yeah,
changes when
the-
things were done as flyers?
Yeah, yes, this flyer was definitely sent to Andy. The flyer was. I would say that no, we don't normally communicate back like if I have to take out like where he has a senior program, we definitely always list the date and time, but where he might say like, hey, if you haven't seen the place, come on down or something like that. If we're tight on space, we'll remove that one sentence. Now again, if I'll be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed that I'm hearing about it like this way. If Andy would have said this to me, I think we could work out an arrangement where, look, if you want, like, and the reason why I think the October and the other month is not here is because we didn't have space limitations. It was the months where we run tight on space because I can't go over, I believe it's 9 physical pieces of paper with the post office. So like one of them was the graduate issue where we had a lot of pictures and
Yeah, I noticed there's
you know what I mean?
no
So we
rec
try to
content
like
in that
work
one.
with our submitters to kind of, and like I said, as long as we're not changing the intent of the content, if I take out, like there was definitely one where I know we took out a lot, but it was more of like, hey, if you have some good suggestions or something like that, right? Okay, well, maybe we could do that next month. I can't do it this month.
So what I'm understanding you to say is that you talked to Andy months ago about needing to be more succinct.
Yes.
Did you follow your published policy of clarifying with him on each edition that you were going to remove content?
I did not go through each one of the lines that we did. I honestly did not. And the only reason why I haven't is because we've had the relationship with him for, it's almost 2 years now that I've been involved. I've never had a complaint from him about what we're doing. I always thought he was really happy that we were making it fit and it was succinct and getting his message out. Like I said, there've been cases where we call and remind him like, hey, don't forget, you got to put this out the 4th of July. We can't, if you wait till the July issue, it's not going to hit the houses. Do you know what I mean? And like, anyways, and all I will say is that if Andy wants to talk to me about a better way of doing this, I mean, look, no problem. If he wants to review what I do for his specific one, like every month, and I'm not, you know what I mean? If I have to whittle something down, Andy, this is what we're going with. Here's the page. You approve it, I'll do that. If he just wants to be, like he doesn't want us to touch it anymore, send us your page. If I can fit it, I'll fit it. If I can't, I'm gonna go back to him and say, look, you got a couple of days, I can't fit the whole thing. You need to take out 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, or something like that.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, like, I'm just trying to make this work for everybody. This was not us trying to like, and again, there's nothing other than, I will admit, we made a mistake on the cricket one. If that's something that he really wants that picture in, we'll print the picture. If he would have told me what the month it happened, I would have put it in this past issue. I had space in the October issue.
I think they didn't realize because
But I didn't hear anything. I'll be honest with you. When the town manager said, hey, I'm going to send this to the department heads, like, I'm like, hey, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Because
we're just checking in.
yeah, I think it's a great idea. But I said I would be shocked if you heard anything because I've not gotten any feedback, and I'm pretty available. You know what I mean? I'm not like a guy. I'm retired now, so like
Okay.
I'm.
Jim, I think I'm going to stop you there because I
Yeah,
think
please.
the board has heard your explanation.
Okay.
Does the board have questions or comments or discussion about these issues that have come up?
So, I understand that these feel like minor changes, and it sounds like you've had previous conversations with Andy about it. In 2 different places in your policies, you state the BNL will make no changes to printed submissions without prior approval from the submitter.
Right.
And then in a separate place, it talks about submissions that it receives by the publication deadline, understanding that space limitations may exist, in which case the author will be notified and any such submission will be included in the following publication. So I think the fact that Andy didn't realize that things were cut, he probably expected to hear from you if you were gonna cut things.
And all I'm saying, Letty, is that this goes back over, I've been involved for almost 2 years now. This same process has been going on. The relationship between Andy and the Brentwood newsletter, taking his rec department new full-page ad and getting it into the newsletter, we've been working that together.
Yeah, we
since I've
understand
been
that,
involved.
Jim. I
So,
think she's just pointing
yeah,
out that the
I-
policy wasn't followed.
Correct. And per the policy, I should have been notifying Andy every single time, but it never came to an issue. But if he wants me to do that, I definitely will do that.
I mean, my assumption when I read this is that you would do it for everyone every time.
It hasn't been an issue for the most part with anyone except the rec department right now, because it usually is a full page every single month that and I've asked, could you just send us kind of a more succinct, trying to make it. But Letty, I'll speak to Andy and he won't be surprised ever again.
Again, it's not just Andy though, like no, but it should be.
We don't do this to anybody else right now, to my knowledge, only with the rec department. And it's only with the rec department news, that's full page that we put in there.
I would like to just highlight for the board that that these issues seems like the wrong word in this particular case.
Okay.
The whatever you want to call it, miscommunication. It has between the rec and the BNL have. This is not something that is new. This has been a very long, ongoing period of miscommunication from my perspective. And this is not the first time that, or the second or the third time that this has come up with relation to the rec and things not being published there.
Other board thoughts or comments on this in terms of the board's willingness to release a check, given that the BNL policies do not appear to have been followed to the letter during the last quarter? Paul?
Yeah, I don't think that that warrants not releasing the check in terms of not following to the letter. I think there's some notice now, assuming,
Absolutely.
that, this will be followed moving forward, but I don't think it's.
When has there not been notice? Like, in all seriousness.
Well, we had to solicit to find problems. Like,
Did
Andy
any-
should be looking at the newsletter and saying, hey, my stuff didn't get published.
Who told Andy to do that
We did.
this last week?
But not
Yes.
regularly, because
I'm not
for
so
this, you
I'm
shouldn't
not
have
so
to.
sure that that's Andy's
Yeah.
job, especially if there's a policy and a guideline specifically stating something is being followed and they're getting a check to offset the cost of printing town news. So I don't know if putting that on Andy is really fair.
All right, we are almost at 6:45, so we need to wrap this particular decision up because we need to meet with council. I'm assuming they're going to pop up on Teams.
They popped up already.
Okay, all right. So board thoughts or decisions on moving forward with releasing the check for BNL?
Yeah, I'd move to release it.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to release the check. Any second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
No.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
No.
And I'm a no, so we are not going to release that check. The reason why, Jim, I think I was really clear when I voted yes last time, that I was not willing to bend the rules again, and the policies as published on your website were not followed during this quarter. So we will not release this check, and we will move on. We do need to go into non-public, and we
Do you need
need
a
to
motion?
take a motion to go into non-public
Move.
for legal. We
Move.
will then come back out into public to finish the rest of our meeting. So if anybody wants to stay, they are welcome to stay and come back after we come out of that non-public session. So we will recess
Nope.
for a non-meeting with council.
So we still have to.
So we don't need to go into non-public,
end
right?
the meeting?
We will pause the
Oh,
recording.
we're pausing, okay.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on.
We good?
You're not gonna stay?